Hello and good evening. Welcome. Sipuri Maisias, the first Sipuri Maisias of Chodesh Elul, Tafshin Pei Beis. Exciting time. Baruch Hashem. Let's take a quick look at the story and try to dive into it. Okay, so as we said the last time, we said that the groom, the princess did not believe the groom anymore. She didn't believe anybody. She didn't know who to believe. So he went back to his place of exile, where he lived, and he ate fruits just like before. The interesting thing here, just it seems like when he finally arrived, many years happened, made up his mind, he's going to live in the desert, and that's it. Contemplated entire life in the world, concluded it's best for him just to spend the rest of his life. In other words, supposedly he gave up on his fate and his tachlis. Before we go on, into what actually transpired afterwards, we need to understand that one of the basic principles in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the fact that just because you have not left wing marks in the air does not mean that you have not soared, that you didn't fly, that you didn't take off. Before we said that he lived in that particular area and decided, what have I got to spend time, chasing the world and being persecuted, just leave it alone. And then he decided to give over, let somebody else, come closer to Tachlis, to somebody else. And the reaction was all the time, total lack of gratitude and self-serving by all the kings that he told about. So at the end, he decided that he's going to do it on his own. Came over, put himself in danger, and guess what? It didn't work out. So he goes back. So the way that we look at this is that this is an exercise in futility. He didn't do anything. But this is not true. If you remember in the story of the lost princess, first finds her, she sends him, to contemplate for a year, wish to take her out, last day, don't sleep, don't eat. He doesn't manage and he fails. He comes to her and she said, it's a big loss, but okay, not to eat is difficult. So she sends him another test, another year, wait and long for me. And the last day you can eat, but just don't sleep. And don't drink wine, so you don't fall asleep. In other words, the directive not to drink wine doesn't seem to be the focal point. There's no, it's not that there's a nakuda that, not to drink wine. The idea is not to drink wine so that you don't fall asleep. And he, on the way back to her after the whole year, he passes along a stream that is red and it smells like wine, but it should be water. And he says to his servant, this is a strange phenomenon. And he just dips his stick in the liquid and tastes it and falls asleep for 70 years. And while he's asleep, the princess passes and she gets down from the carriage and she cries and she laments for him and for her and says she's no longer in the place of the not good where he is found her. Now he has to look for a place called the Mountain of Gold and the castle made of pearls. We spoke about this quite often. It teaches us two very specific lessons, this part of the story. Again, he failed. What was the failure? What was the big deal? It's not like, he took a cup, a chalice, whatever it is, and filled it, the liquid and drank it and made Burgher goffen on it and whatever it is. He just tasted it. It's supposed to. And he fell asleep from all the 70 years. What it teaches us is that we tend to take things, make a decision. What is the ikar? What is the main thing, and what is the thing that the tuffle, the thing that don't do this, you don't come to that. It's Chazal is full with takonos and gdorim that they made, that everybody is smarter than Chazal. And not Chazal, everybody, of course, but people, imagine that they are smarter than Chazal. So Chazal said, you don't do this because so you won't come to do an Aveiah D'Oraisa. Said, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to. The thing is that if a person is told not to drink wine, right, in and on itself, he wouldn't have drunk. But the yetzer hara over here gave him not only a temptation, but also a signal. Like Alice in Wonderland, eat me, drink me, whatever it is. From the very phenomena itself of a river of wine, he should have understood that this is a test. It was a big experience, just tasting it. Stay away from it. And he fell. He fell not on a d'oraisa, which is like the first time she told me not to eat, and he ate the apple. but quote unquote, as it were, he fell on the rabbanon, as it were. So don't drink wine so that you don't fall asleep. And he just tasted it. And he fell asleep for 70 years. The fall of not heeding the words of the tzaddikim is far worse, because, as they said, Chazal made the chizuk to their decrees more than the Yoraisa. Because it's a natural person say, okay, it's just Chazal, it's not biblical, it's rabbinical. Because when Chazal say something, when tzaddikim say something, the Kodesh Baruch Hu is saying it. And you have to be even more careful. But the main nekuda that I wanted to make, which connects with this thing, he tries to get the daughter of the emperor, the Shechina, and it doesn't work out, and he goes back. And he seems like, as we said, it's an exercise in futility, that really the same thing happened with him. That what's getting lost in the translation, as it were, is that the daughter, the princess, is no longer jailed in the house of the not good. In other words, with his failures, with his two failures, from his point of view, he didn't do anything. He didn't accomplish anything, but that's not true. By doing what he could and doing what he did, he actually released her from there. Now, there was a different kind of test that he had to go through, to bring the final deliverance. But the same thing is happening with our story. He's attempting, to approach her, and he is meeting, a blank wall. It doesn't work. He goes back. He didn't do anything. Now Rabbeinu shows us that this is not true. Enochinami. He is not, she does not recognize him right then and there. We don't even know what would have happened if she would have recognized him. The emperor was already decreed, it was a death sentence on his head. It's the empress that got him released. What would have happened if the princess would have said, okay, he's the one? What would happen? We don't know, but this is not the way of the story. Kodesh Baruch Hu does not lead things that way. The Hashgacha of Kodesh Baruch Hu is like that of, like playing chess with a grandmaster. He can lead you to any position on the board while you just playing the game. He can get you to wherever he wants you to get, while you're exercising free choice. Obviously, HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do and does that. So let's get ahead with the story and see what happens in order to get to where we need to get. Meanwhile, on the sea, there was a pirate. And he heard that such a beautiful woman existed, and he got the idea to take her prisoner. He himself could not do anything with her because he was a eunuch. However, he felt that if he could kidnap her, he could sell her to a king for a huge sum of money. And he began to set a plan in motion. Now, a pirate ignores his own welfare. If he succeeds, he succeeds. If not, he doesn't care. See, he was wanton, the way pirates are. Let's just stop it right here for a minute. The pirate is the yetzer. We learned the same kind of wantonness, of lawlessness, of hefkeris. Rabbeinu says in Terech HaFei that we learned together that when a person goes up to a new madrega, the person that was on that madrega before already subdued the klipa on that higher madrega. But when the person that was there before leaves and you come into this new higher stature, the klipa comes up again. And Rabbeinu uses the same kind of language. He says, the Sabbath Be'atuna that was going on, they said, show us a keli that is not worth its damage, the damage that it causes, that it requires. So Rabbeinu says, he says that the loshon is the lo, the achva leimano, show us a keli, the lo shavio lechabala, that does not justify its cost, its the loss that it causes. Rabbeinu explains this in a manner of that klipa does not care that it has already lost, it was already defeated by the person who was on that madrega before. It already suffered a loss. When you come into this madrega, or a new person comes into this madrega, it gets up all over again. It's a very interesting diuk. You could say, listen, the person that was there before, he did his work, he was done. Now, this is your work. What does it mean that the klipa does not care the fact that it already lost before and it comes all over again? There is a very interesting insight that Rabbeinu is giving us into the fact that the klipa doesn't, quote unquote, it doesn't care about itself. It doesn't care about its own welfare, which is hard to understand because the reason, as Rabbeinu says, he said that the pirate could not use the daughter of the emperor because the pirate was a eunuch. The Tuma, in Torah Chaf Beis, Rabbeinu already likens the Tuma to a mule, which is sterile. Avodah Zarah, Sitra Achra does not bring fruit. So it's about to sell her to another king and to get a great sum of money. In other words, the idea is to get chayas from the kedusha. This is what the klippas do. The malchus resides amongst the klippas during the week. And it says, Raglea Yerdos Mavis, her feet, dip in death, in the level of the klipot, which is the level of death. And this is where the tumah gets its chayas. So supposedly, the klipa cares very much because it has a lot to gain. But that thing that he says, listen, if I succeed, I succeed. And if not, big deal. It's an astonishing thing. Where Rabbeinu speaks about Azus the Kedusha and Azus the Sitra Achra. He says, Az Ponim Legehenim. Anybody who was an Az Ponim, who's fresh, ends up in Gehenim. And Bosh is Ponim Legan Eden. Someone is embarrassed, he goes to Gan Eden. But the thing is that the secret of success is learned from Dafka, the conduct of Kivyochel, the Sitra Achra. The Sitra Achra has a goal, it has a plan, it has a directive. The difference between Azus the Kedusha and Azus Sitra Achra is that Azus, boldness, fierceness of Tumah, is simply because I want it. I want the whole world. Do you deserve it? I don't care. I want it. That's it. That's good enough for me. But it's a very big lesson for us because we ourselves are scared off often. Some of us are often scared by we're scared of waking up sleeping dogs when it comes to Avodas Hashem. I don't know what's going to be. If I'm going to do, too much, if I'm going to go with it, gung ho, and jump in head first, then the Samach Mem is going to start up with me, maybe I'll Chas v'Chalila have Yisurim. It says Svivaso Nisara Me'oid. Said Kodesh Baruch Hu is medaktig with tzaddikim, like a hairbreadth. The Torah that we are learning, the Torah's manis is samechei. The entire Breslov is learning. The Rebbe says when a person goes through, when he looks at the tachlis, he's able to mevatel himself to Ein Sof, to the tachlis, where everything is good, and then when he comes back, that the suffering do increase. Afterwards, they sweeten with the Torah that comes from there. The big deceit, the big cheat of the Sitra Achra is, listen, don't push. Don't push. It's okay. You want a good seat in the middle. You don't want to sit up front. You don't sit all the way back. I'm sitting amongst my people. Everybody's around me. I'm safe. There's safety in numbers. Leave me alone. The other yetzer says he doesn't care about himself. I want to succeed. Succeed, I'll succeed. If not. We just learned that we succeed even when we fail. If we attempt, if we dare, as we see. We saw it by the viceroy, as we will see it now as the story goes along with the son of the Burgher, of the merchant. There's a certain kind of hypnotic trance. We are prisoners in our own mind, of our own timidness. How he's able to do this? Just by being fierce. Just by threatening us. If you dare, as you will see later, if you dare try something, I'm going to finish you. And if we don't dare do something, he's not going to try and finish us. This kind of hefkeris, this kind of self-abandonment that a person needs to daven for and seek for, because life is going on now. Every single day that passes, we need to awaken with a new sense of urgency. I can't go on believing him. I can't go on believing him. Because it's not like anybody who goes into Avodas Hashem, is going to get tackled by the Sitra Achra, and everybody else is going to live happily ever after. It doesn't happen that way. There's an expiration date for everyone. It's a fiction, but it's a moral demoralization. He demoralizes us. Easy that. No. You don't push too hard, I'm going to leave you alone. He's not going to leave you alone. He's not going to leave me alone. So much tefillas need to be put into this inyan, whoever is shaykh in this, to dare to have this seichel amiti, that the only thing that really counts is the tachlis. And the Sitra Achra is not going to do me any favors. And he does not going to give me any leeway. And he's not going to give me any, okay, if you don't stop with me, I won't stop with you. It's a fiction. It's baloney. And as we said, the first thing is the Sitra Achra has is a wanton abandonment, just like a self-abandonment, just doesn't care about himself. And the second thing is he's making a plan. The Sitra Achra, the Yetzer Hara, has a plan for each and every one of us. You know, as we live our lives, we feel, you know, it's okay, I do a little this, do a little that, you know. So. By the story of the lost princess, the Sitra Achra made a river of wine, just so that the viceroy will dip, for them to dip the end of his stick just to taste. Each and every one of us is extremely, extremely important to the Samach Man. He has a plan for me. He has a plan for you, for you, for you, for you, for everyone. A whole plan. And as we will read weiter, we'll see how elaborate that plan is. What kind of heavy investments are invested into this. Just to get me, just to get you. It's not like, you know, we're part of the flocks or whatever it is. So, you know, he throws a little hurdles on you. No, 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 no. It's a very specific plan to get us. We, on the other hand, need to have a very specific plan to counter the yetzer hara. We can't deny that we are where we are. If I am timid, I can't, you know, every once in a while, I can sort of like, you know, do something really wild and be untimid for a little while, but I can't change my nature. I am who I am. But I can plan for it. I can talk to Kodesh Baruch Hu about it. I pay attention to who I am, the way I am, what's going on with me. Because I have to forge ahead. There is no time to waste. B'ezrat Hashem, we will continue with Sipur Maisius next week, where we'll see the elaborate plan of the Samach Mem to each and every one of us with a little bit in depth. At the same time, B'ezrat Hashem, on Wednesday, we will learn Torah, we'll start Torah Chaf Vav. It's a very short Torah. And we'll continue Mitzvah Hashem Thursday and Mitzvah Shabbos. So I want to wish each and every one of you Aksiya v'achsim tova, Nagid Giben Shior, and B'ezrat Hashem will all see each other in Uman for Rosh Hashanah, B'ezrat Hashem. Kol Tov.